Wanted to start a series, short series on numbers in the Word. We're going to go through the numbers 1 through 16 at the very least. Look forward to those videos coming out. Today's video is going to be on number 1. This is about discerning and understanding the communication of numbers in the Word of God. I want to show you this first before we go into the video. But this is how we communicate to our children as soon as they're old enough to sit up. Even sooner, when they're laying in the crib, we start dangling images in front of them from the top of the crib, like little stuffed elephants and tigers and whatnot. And immediately we start to teach them letters and numbers. So whether we realize it or not, what we're doing is our pedagogy of raising children is to put images, letters, and numbers in front of them. We raise them up then to interact intelligently and in very sophisticated ways as adults with those same three mediums: letters, images, and numbers. Well, God's no different with how he deals with his children in teaching them the Word of God. So the role that numbers play is indispensable. And it becomes a cross-examination. Cross-examining numbers, letters, and images in the Bible can guarantee accuracy of our doctrine. It will also reprove us if we're not seeing something correctly, and then it will provide the correction. And all of this is unto us instruction in knowing God, understanding him and his ways through the Word of God. Okay? With that in mind, let's go into this and let's take a look starting today with the number 1. I'm going to come off screen and just enlarge this. Now, first of all, 1 is the first number. And in God's mind, 0 is not a number. 0 is a placement, a placeholder, but it is not a number. So numbers go from 1 to -1. If you think of Isaiah 40, where God says that the nations are less than nothing, well, that means you're going into the minus numbers at that point. But we're going to look at 1 and learn how 1 is the number of God the Father. 1 is uniquely his number. And what you find is that immediately language, letters, and numbers are interacting together in the destination language of English for the Bible. God's destination language for the Bible is English. So the numbers and the letters are highly interactive with each other. Now, 1, meaning unique, is self-explanatory. But you'll see just in the word unique that there is the word uni, which means 1. So obviously there's this relationship between letters and numbers. You really want to get acquainted and comfortable with that so that you can grow in understanding further delvings into the Word of God. Like a matured person interacting with God on a more mature level. All right, from here, let's notice something. Let's notice that the I is in the word unique, and that I and 1 have the exact same shape. Now that's intentional. That's on purpose. This is showing you that there's a bridge between letters and numbers. I in Roman numerals or Latin numerals equals 1. And so even in today's fonts that the world produces, fonts for the English language, you can see how they exactly preserve this truth, because this I that's in this basic font right here is no different than the typeset that they've given for when you print the number 1 or you key in the number 1. Obvious relationship that even people who don't think in terms of letters and numbers being related, even they, by nature, they produce such relationships. Okay, let's move on here. Now, I, as one and unique, is very appropriate because in English, I equals the self. I means I, as in I am. Now, I am means the self. In the Greek in the scriptures, the word ego or ego eimi, I am, has the word ego in it. Ego goes back to Freudian psychology, but it's just using a Greek word for I or the self. Now, this is important because God is the only legitimate self. He is to be the only expression of individuality and uniqueness in all of existence. So everything that he creates is for the purpose of expressing him as the unique one or the unique I, the unique self. But in the fallen world, the exaltation of the self is an exaltation against God, the creator. We see how number and letter functioning together is really more than just gathering insight on counting, but it actually has behind it all of theology. Take a look here. This is the Hebrew. So the King James Bible comes out of the Latin, which comes out of the Greek, which comes out of the Hebrew. It's a living relationship that's found between these languages. God has always had a living word on the earth. When it was in Hebrew, it was in Hebrew. As it was growing through history into the Greek, it had transcended through time into the Greek, but it was the living word of God on the earth. Latin came through bearing English, and then we had the destination language for the Bible, and then God matured his Bible in English in the 1611 King James Bible. But we're taking it back here to the seed, to the Hebrew. And I want you to see how the image relationships are there, because not only do the letter and the numbers have the intricate relationship via image, but even going back to the seed language of the Hebrew, I'm going to show you how the image of one or I is in the very name of God. That's what we have written in Hebrew here before us. So here we have the Yod, and we have the He, the Vav, and the He. This is what becomes transliterated in the King James Bible as Jehovah, Yod He Vav He, Jehovah. Take a look at this right here. Maybe you already see what I'm about to show you. When we capture the Yod and this portion right here of the He, what we have is the exact image of what later becomes the I in English. And the I, as in unique, is pointing us to one, the number one. So when God immediately reveals his name as Yod He Vav He, or Jehovah, the first thing he's pointing out is that he is the unique one, the unique I, the unique self, and the only legitimate and holy I. Every other thing, whether it be creature with breath or creation, is to be bearing something of the Creator, who is the unique I, the unique one. I hope you can appreciate this image relationship that's going on right here. Next, the shape of the one is infinite. It goes in this direction forever, and it goes in this direction forever. So even the shapes of the letters are communicating to you the truth of the meaning of the numbers. Actually, I said letter earlier. The shape of the numbers. Well, the shapes of the letters actually do this too. But here we're dealing with the shapes of the numbers. We just saw that the shape of the letter was doing it when we saw the Yod He, Vav He, and how the Yod He together was forming the shape of the eye. But in this case, the number one, is communicating to you the attribute of God who is infinite, with no beginning and no ending. No matter which direction we go, we cannot find the start because God has no beginning. He himself is in himself the eternal Holy One, whose name is holy. Okay, this is important because one being the number of God the Father is pointing to us that the 1611 King James Bible, of course, we see the one as the starting number of 1611, is pointing to us that it is the Word of God. It is sourcing from God, and it is His eternal Word. One becomes a very important number in the timing of God to finish His Word in 1611 or 1611. Now, that was just a miniature lesson on the number one. A lot more could be said. I want to keep these short. I kind of want these to be starter, sort of kick-off number tutorials for people who aren't used to numbers in the Bible without overly inundating them with technical details. But the revelation goes much, much further. I think you'll really enjoy this series. And no matter where you are in understanding the Bible, even if you're already aware of numbers, I guarantee it will increase your understanding of numbers. I'm going to bring you soon the number 2, and I'll be rolling out all of the numbers of 1 through 16 at the bare minimum, and possibly or likely even more. Okay? Stay tuned to the channel. Pass this on to people and worship God in spirit and in truth. That means letters, images, and numbers. That is the truth of how God communicates in His holy Bible.